I hear it.
I do not hear it. I'm just gonna bob my head, pretend like I'm hearing the intro track. Like, yeah.
I tried.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Hey, anyways, welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Emily.
And today we have all of the things to talk about. And it just occurred to me, this is the last episode pre-Halloween. And this is also the last episode before my birthday.
Yeah, your birthday is on Wednesday. So the day after
it is. Day after this comes out. So the day, if you're watching this on release day, today is officially the last day that I am 25 years old.
All right. I think that when I turned 26, my mother said, "You're in your late 20s now." And I was like, no, that doesn't happen until 28. Now I'm 31.
I'm trying to think. Late 20s has to be 27.
I think 27 and a half.
Yeah, but then that's 3/4 of the way through your 20s. 27 is like an approximate third of the way through your 20s, because you can get 20 to 23, and then 24 to 26, and then 27 to 29.
Well, whatever. But
that gives you a whole extra year. That extra year for the early 20s in that bracket space.
But do you want that? The early 20s weren't my favorite of the 20s. Certainly
my early 20s are all right.
20s. Yeah. I have your birthday present right here because I've been filming the demos for it. I'm not going to move it because I got the setup and I'm like,
you got it just right. Like, don't touch it. Don't sneeze.
Oh my God. I almost cried like while demoing this. So just so everybody knows, Andrew knows what his birthday present is because he helped retrieve it.
You make me sound like a dog.
No, it was your like. So, I do the demos. Andrew doesn't do the demos, but like if he's the one who does the work to get the product, then he can have it. I don't really care. But
so if I come cold calling you, you know why? Like, hey, I actually really want your stuff.
It's a Line 6 Pod Go.
Yep.
And now that it's working, I think it's really cool. I think you're really going to dig it.
All right.
I really like the amp sounds. But when I first got it, I'm like, oh, cool. Like I made my patch. Like that was really easy. Like, and now I'm like, and then I'm like filming it. So like I made one patch. Now I can go and I can film it and I can walk through the process like, and not sound like an idiot. And I make one patch and I'm like, and now I'm going to make another patch. And I like jokingly make one, name it Andrew. And then, it saves to every single patch slot. Even
everything's Andrew.
Even if it was like the named one, like the tests that I did, like it was suddenly like all of them. So I'm like, does this happen every time I did the app? I did the firmware update. I'm like, what is happening? And I'm just like,
it knows it belongs to me. I think that's what it is. It's like, oh, Andrew, I know that name. My master is Andrew. We will serve Andrew.
I had to do a hard factory reset, which thankfully was really easy. And then I updated the firmware was still updated, and now everything's working great. And like, what was weird?
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, what was weird was when I got it, there were no like example patches loaded in. Like there was nothing, and I thought, well, that's a little weird. I would think they would at least give you some, so like you can like see what it's capable of. Sort of like the Fender Mustang GTX 100 has like 172 out of 200, and you can do all of your own. Nothing in there. So I do kind of wonder if it was like everything was boxed up, everything looked new, but part of me is like, was it a weird case of just like something buggy happened somewhere along the line? And I don't know, maybe it was like a refurb or like they had used it for an example.
Well, I mean, software is a fickle thing. There's no getting around that. All it takes is one bug. It starts to wig out, and sometimes just you refresh the software and it all works fine. You start getting to a certain level of DSP, it's inevitable.
Now I have to now I'm realizing that this like that time last week I was reinstalling my entire operating system on my computer. So like 2 weeks in a row I've had to just start everything from scratch. And both times it was like fine. It was like whatever. Like at this point, I have my Dropbox synced to like I'm just like saving anything that might be
Cloud
vaguely
storage
important to my Dropbox. Yeah. Which means I'm probably gonna have to up the amount of internet data I have on my plan, but it's worth it. Like I had been saving stuff to like externals, and that's kind of fine, and I probably will go back to that solution, but hey, fingers crossed I don't have to.
No, I'm lucky I don't do video editing because that would take a lot more space than my Google Drive would handle. But I treat my Google Drive as my backup, and I'm not going to tell you which account I'm using as a backup because I'm very tinfoil hat about my digital security. And anyways, but yeah, you get 15 gig with a free Gmail account, so why not?
Yeah, I have I've was like grandfathered into like the 2 terabyte Dropbox plan.
Nice.
For like $100 a year or something like that. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm never leaving that.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever leave that.
The email address attached to it isn't one that anybody has. So,
well, there you go.
One thing I love about Gmail addresses is you can put random periods in them. And so, like, if you're like creating a username and for something, you can just add a bunch of periods or remove a bunch of periods, and it'll still go to your Gmail, but like it'll make it, I think, probably put at least one level of between hackers and you.
Yep, for sure. There's a myriad of ways to enhance digital security in the modern era.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to ask you what's new with you.
Oh, that's so kind. Well, for starters, I have this adorable little pumpkin.
It's like my adorable little pumpkin. And if you're
Mine's
not
cuter.
watching this, mine has a cat on it. So mine's more podcast appropriate. But if you're not watching this on YouTube, we both have itty bitty little pumpkins, and mine has a cat on it.
All I'm going to say is it's the most wonderful time of the year where orange is universally beloved. And I have no complaints with that. So now I've got that pumpkin.
I wouldn't call orange universally beloved. There are some instances of orange.
Just don't let politics ruin my moment, okay? Tangerine Palpatine. I get it. Like, I don't like them either, but I just want to be able to like orange. All right, so I've got 2 things here for what's new with me that are actually gear related. One, so Melissa's been helping me out with Fox Cairo as of late, and I think at this point it's about time to actually officially announce her as like part of the team because she's awesome and saving me and my ineptitude with her genius. And anyway, so
great.
She's so great.
You're lucky.
I'm incredibly lucky. Yeah. So I saw something. It's Andy Martin's wife has an Instagram account. I think it's like Behind the Pedals or something.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. It's
a great account. She posts a combination of like memes that make fun of Andy / make fun of the people who make fun of Andy. Those are always great, but then just getting to see like the behind the scenes of how she supports him and the tips and tricks she's picked up as someone who's like not a guitar player. And she posted this last week, and it was a photo of a doorstop. And what she was using it for was to prop up pedals just at a nice angle to lift them off of the surface that they're being photographed on. I think the photo she posted was of a guitar. So it was like she had the doorstop was on the strings, and so the pedal could like be just neatly raised up. And I'm like, that's genius. And
that's really smart. Yeah.
So I was going through my wish list of things to purchase for the business. And
a doorstop was one of them.
Doorstop was one of them, but now that Melissa's involved, I was like, "Hey, honey, before I go and start just buying stuff with the money we've made the last couple of weeks, I want to run this by you since we're kind of doing this together now. So here's what I've got in the cart. Here's why each of these things is good for." That made sense. And
sure.
On the list was like doorstops, and on Amazon, there's like a set of 4 for like $15. I'm like, I just want one.
Hell?
Yeah, it's like I just want a doorstop, but I also like I don't want to go. It's not worth my time to go to the store and wander around to find one for $3 and save the $10 if that's going to take
or
me an hour.
Or just like the Family Dollar. Surely it's a product of the Family Dollar.
She looked at me and she's like, "Hun, you know we have doorstops, right?" So I got told.
My husband doesn't know what we own either. It's kind of amazing.
So yeah, no, we've got doorstops. They are clear, and I need to get the lighting rig up behind me to do some shoots of my next What's New. Take a round 2 shoot. Is the hope is. So I usually do photography on the orange backdrop that I've got.
Right.
Because hashtag on brand. It's fun, but the problem is when you've got something like a VP Junior where the side of it is silver, the reflection from the orange is so strong that the sides end up looking orange. That's not always desirable. So my hope is if I put this underneath, it just get a little bit off of the surface, that might help a little bit with the orange glare that's permeating everything. It's partly why.
And I'm going to be honest, like orange, like that's I'm looking at your product right now, and like that topper's orange.
The topper is orange. This is my newest topper.
What's orange's complementary color, Andrew? It's actually in that image.
Blue?
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, that took me a second. I was like, wait, orange is a secondary color, and the other side of the wheel
is that you could invest in a blue one for when you have orange things. I actually probably have a ton of little like fabric-y backdrops because I bought a light box once and never used it, and it came with a bunch of potential background colors.
Mine is not fabric; it's a 99-cent poster board from Target. You would
have to iron the fabric, so I kind of get not using fabric.
I still don't know what I'm doing as an amateur photographer. I still use my phone to take all my product photos, but I was like, I want an orange backdrop. I want an orange backdrop. How do I do that? And I was just like casually browsing through Target pre-pandemic, and I just saw the poster board. I'm like, I bet that would work. And so I grabbed like 5. So there's like 5 of them stashed back here. 3 of which haven't been used yet. As they get scuffed up, I try to erase what I can with a pencil eraser and then move on when it's trash. For 99 cents, I don't know. Yeah, I don't care.
Sure, yeah. But don't sweat like any like I use this to film the me shots in all of our demos. That's my phone. Yeah. And I have a cute little new pop socket. It's a black cat.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, what's new with you?
What was I going to say? Oh, I was like, I'm so excited for my what's new, and I've just 2 things happened that were exciting this week for me, musically speaking. Sunday Crush, the band I play guitar in, albeit I did not play on the record. We had a video premiere for our song and video Good Boy. It's an animated video. It's really cute on the Big Takeover magazine's website. So that was really exciting.
I would say so. And then
I found out the song I had recorded, laid down some guitar parts for a woman named Senora May. That went live last week, and she started sharing it around this week. It's a really beautiful song called Waiting to Bloom. It's on Bandcamp. All the money's going to help some victims of domestic violence, especially children. So it's all going to a great cause. So I'll try to remember to drop a link in the video description in the show notes. And I'll drop it in the visual thread on our Facebook group, which everybody should join. But I'm just really proud of what we did. It's just kind of some moody swells. I tried to sort of invoke a pedal steel because I thought she would like that, and she did. But my friend Michelle Sullivan from Michelle Sullivan and the All Night Boys plays bass and sings on it. And I forget the fiddle player, but she did a great job. I can attest.
Well, congratulations. It's always exciting when new content comes out with your name on it.
It is, and I'm just excited about where things are going. Feels like 31 years of hard work might be starting to like
pay off
a little bit. Yeah.
I
should say 31 minus 8, 13, 23 years. Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. That seems like capitalism might start working eventually. Maybe.
For me? Maybe. And I started the new job this week, and that's been going well. But man, I did forget what it was like to work 40 hours a week.
It's an experience.
Good. Days go by a lot faster. It's kind of nice.
I bet. Yeah, no, my week 1000% disappeared. I got to Friday, and I worked way more than my normal shift for Monday and Tuesday. So my manager was like, okay, well, make up for that. We'll let you have Friday morning off. And so like come Friday morning, I'm like, well, I feel like I should be working, but I'm not. It felt like it took forever to get to noon, and like I'm working from home anyways, and so I'm like resisting the urge, like it probably wouldn't hurt just to check to see where my messages are at right now, see how many emails I've got waiting, and then as soon as I forced myself to wait till noon to fire up the laptop, and then noon hit, I fired it up, I'm like, all right, let's go, and the next thing I know it's like 4. I'm like, that took 5 minutes for 4 hours to pass, but the entire morning. When I slept in and was only awake for like 2 or 3 hours before I started work, felt like an entire day. What the heck?
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Like I've been waking up at like 6:30 to get some like other freelance projects done, like before I start my work day. I don't know why I said I hadn't worked 40 hours a week. I mean, obviously I've been doing 40 hours of work a week. It's just for one job instead of like one main thing and then like a couple other things to fill the hours. But yeah, I've been waking up early to work on some freelance projects, to edit some videos. I am cutting my demo schedule back a little bit. I had been doing 4 demos a week, and that was just a lot, man.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't even like I wasn't struggling for content because I still have a backlog, but yeah, just to do 4 videos a week really it's so many. It's just a lot of time filming and editing. Yeah.
Yep. No, that makes total sense. I think with all of that in mind, I think we should update the phrase "time flies when you're having fun," because like having fun, like time doesn't fly quite the same way when you're a willing participant in corporate capitalism. I think that's how we should. I think a variant on that is how we should rephrase that. Like.
And you're going so hard on capitalism this week.
Capitalism has not been the kindest to me this week, and I'm not feeling excited about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy.
It happens.
Yeah,
it's capitalism.
Yeah.
So,
I know we have a topic, but like I mentioned something last week that I just kind of want to talk about really quickly before we get into our topic, which is going to be a lot of fun. But I know I mentioned that I thought that you were too young for Pete and Pete. And that was confirmed because I didn't realize that Pete and Pete started airing in 1991. And they were like a couple of one-off shorts, like four like 23-minute episodes. And then it went into a full-time series in like 93 or something like that. But I have gone down a rabbit hole of Pete and Pete a little bit, like not as much as Rick. Like I got home one night. I don't know where I had been or something. I had been like working on something. So I probably just came upstairs and I felt like coming home.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
It's like I finished work at like 7:30 and went upstairs and we hung out, and then he was going to get on a 9:30 call with India because he's important. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to lay in bed and like, I'm like, well, let me see if Pete and Pete's on YouTube. And it is. And I started watching it at like 9:15 and he hears and he comes and he just is looking at it. He's like, man, I forgot about this show. And he looks at me and he's like, can you wait until I can watch it with you? And I'm like, sure. But also I'm a little bit sad that I can't watch Pete and Pete right now. But like that, it holds up. It really does hold up. There's a lot of nostalgia. And man, the cameos in it. Firstly, the theme song is like really just so 90s indie rock, and I really love it, and it's fun, and I think it probably impacted my musical taste more than I had thought at the time or have thought throughout my life. But also like Michael Stipe is in an episode, and Pete Pearson from the B-52s is in an episode. Debbie Harry is in an episode. Iggy Pop's in like 4 episodes. Luscious Jackson like plays a major plot line in an episode. I'm like, this is how did all of these like indie rockers or alternative rockers, like how did they convince anyone to let them make a children's TV show? And I love that they did it. And like some of the themes in it I really liked. Like there was an episode about have you ever heard of like a Mr. Tasty kind of ice cream truck?
No.
Okay, well, so there's an episode where there's this like kind of mysterious, and that sounds more dubious than it is, mysterious ice cream guy, and he always wears this big soft serve kind of head, and nobody knows anything about him, and they like try to befriend him, like the kids try to befriend him, and then he just takes off. And then when they're talking to the Michael Stipe character, who's also an ice cream guy, he's like, I heard some kids were trying to get too close. Like basically, but it was like a lesson of it's not always appropriate to try to be friends with adults when you're a child. And I'm like, that's an interesting lesson. And it was from the perspective of not because this guy is bad, because the ice cream guy wasn't bad. It's just like there are boundaries. It's like a good episode about respecting boundaries, I think.
I mean, I'm a fan of respecting boundaries. That just sounds so creepy.
It's a little creepy. I mean, the whole show is just weird. Like the whole thing is that it's weird. Oh yeah, and Sonic Youth's drummer was in like the first ever episode. It was just like you're watching, you're like, what the hell? I love this. I love it more as an adult almost.
That just seems so strange. Yeah, it's definitely
ice cream guy.
Ever so slightly behind my time. But no, I mean, just as soon as you said Michael Stipe, I've been like,
time. Is ahead of your time.
I think both work.
I don't know.
Anyways, no, I've been spinning my head for REM puns, and I don't have any that are relevant to this conversation, but it's not the end of the world as we know it. So,
Mr. Tasty was a shiny, happy person until the kids tried to get in his way.
I feel so forced. I don't know. That just seems very strange. Hey, rude. For those of you who are not watching on YouTube's, which is what kids are calling it these days, it was not the finger, but it was a vulgar gesture.
It wasn't vulgar. Don't call it vulgar. It was a rude gesture.
But it was not a ruse. But about 22 minutes in, if you want to see Emily visually do something rude, you should watch it on YouTube. Anyways,
we actually got more views on our YouTube video last week than downloads, and it a lot. Like it was a lot of YouTube views.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting.
Yeah, I did a premiere, so maybe you're watching the premiere right now.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't. You premiered when I'm in my day job, so I didn't have time to. I couldn't step in and actually watch, but I did come back around, watch the read through the super chat, and I got a kick out of it.
I tried to do a lunch thing, so if you want to be a part of it for the scheduling, just let me know, and I'll try to.
If I thought I would get a lunch, I would.
Oofda.
It's just one of those seasons where it's go go go.
Yeah, no, so. I was going all week last week, and it was really, really nice. I learned a lot. I like writing because you learn the randomest stuff when you have to write an article about it.
Well, shall we thank our sponsors and then hit up our topic?
Yes, this week's episode of the Get All Set podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They make it easy and affordable to put your music on the internet. Places like iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, iHeart. Please stop doing that.
I was waiting to see how long it would take you to get interrupted.
I noticed it the first time you did it. Stop it. I'm trying to thank our sponsor. But one cool thing that I did with them this week is I set up for after our premiere, they're going to be able to do it so that if somebody pre-orders the Sunday Crush record, they're going to get an automatic download of the song Good Boy, and that's called Instant Gratification. And it's a cool way to move pre-sales on iTunes and other platforms. Like just like that little extra incentive for somebody to go ahead and pony up the $10 it costs to buy your music or whatever. And that's just one of the many cool little features that you can do with DistroKid. And if you use the link in the video description or in the show notes, you'll save 7% off your first year of DistroKid, and you'll help support this podcast / YouTube channel. So please check that out. And again, thank you, DistroKid, for supporting us.
Instant gratification. What could be more American? Sorry, I was trying to say something relevant to the sponsor because, like, genuinely in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, that is actually like really cool. Like, I didn't realize that was a feature. And then the other half of my brain was staring at the store stop that I'm now using as a fidget tool to keep my fingers busy. And I looked at it and it says doorstop, and I had my brain immediately went to, well, what's a door start? And I'm just having one of those mornings.
Our house came with a doorstop, but we had been using. Well, I think I mentioned this before. In our last apartment, we only had a front door and a door to the bathroom, and those were the only doors in the whole place because it was a studio loft.
That will do it.
In Nashville, we had, and I think we still have this heavy little iron, like cast iron, and we would use that to prop open the doors. But man, if you hit that thing with your toe, it was lights out. Blinding pain.
Yeah, I don't do the stubbing of the toes.
I have to wear slippers like all the time because for someone with such small feet, how do I stub my toes as much as I do? I don't understand.
I try to wear slippers or Birkenstocks in the house when I can. And I know Melissa doesn't appreciate it, but my toes do. Melissa was raised in a household where you do not wear shoes inside. And while I understand the hygiene behind that, I think if at any point we think that the floor is remotely clean, we're kidding ourselves. So why?
Well, indoor shoes like Mr. Rogers.
I mean, yeah, I don't really wear my Birks or my slippers outside. So
yeah.
So all right, well, our topic for the day.
Yeah, try to say that something. Awkwardly. Can we hat tip Philippe from Caroline Guitar Company?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hat tip to Philippe. Listen to his episode with Louise from Dwarfcraft Devices from earlier in the COVID experience.
Yes, I've been meaning to go back and listen to it because we got kind of into the sticks on what are the business implications of a worldwide shutdown from COVID. And this is like in March. I think we did the episode like a couple weeks after like I started working from home. It was all super fresh. And I remember a few of the talking points that we got through, and I know that those are aging well, but I kind of want to listen back to what everybody thought was going to happen now that we're several months in, and just see like who was right, who was wrong, and how right, I guess, because I don't think anyone was wrong. I think everyone's right to varying degrees. So we got into that conversation. So,
and some of the things just got worse, like like shipping. Just got worse.
Oh man, I'm still so frustrated. Like I'm just like trying to source normal things like supplies for Fox Cairo, and like a couple weeks ago, I went to go source one of the products that I use for the production line. Last time I bought it, it was like X amount of dollars a unit, and I went to go check, and it literally tripled in price since the last time I had to purchase it. And I ended up having to go find someone find a local storefront that was a vendor for that company and talk them into giving it to me at a lower price. Oof. And it's like special ordering a certain number of units in order for it to make it worth their while. And I was like, well, I shouldn't have to go through this.
Yeah.
It's just like, anyway, little things like that. Yeah. Sorry.
Anyways,
yes, Philippe is wonderful.
Yes. He shared this post from the Facebook page, Man Who Has It All.
Which I am following now, and is a delight.
You can actually buy these shirts, but it's a picture of a man and a woman. They're wearing a shirt with the same design, and the woman's shirt says guitarist, and the man's shirt says male guitarist. And as someone who's been called a female guitarist instead of just a guitarist, that's really funny.
I got a kick out of it. I guess I love the concept, but I don't understand. Like, I guess it's a left-handed guitar.
Oh, you're going to
picture?
go there on it.
I know it's been bugging me all week
because the little teardrop pick guard is
on
the other side.
So it's like a pick-shaped cutout picture or graphic of an acoustic guitar, but it's a left-handed guitar because the strings on the right are thicker, and then the pick guard's on the left. Yeah. And that's really bugging me because I'm like, come on, guys.
Why do you hate left-handed people?
We'll get into that another time, but childhood trauma is the long story short. I saw a cat,
but it's going to get cropped out. Damn it.
Cat is probably going to actively if it's Percy, I'm going to be gagging here in about 2 minutes.
Percy didn't go into the. He didn't go into the.
Thank God.
No, he just walked off to the side of the screen. But the whole thing is the trope of the idea of like there are lists where basically women are categorized as like best women in rock or best female guitarist, and just like we just want to be on the list of the normal. Like we just want it to be a normal list. I don't want to be a female musician. I want to be a musician. And that's the sentence. But this is
well, yeah. I mean, if you watched her on SNL last night and you're like, oh, she's pretty good for a girl.
Oh, if you said that, you're like, you're dumb.
but that's the sort of thing that like this mindset, and it's so frustrating to see this because at a certain point, like I never really noticed that this was a thing, but once people started calling it out to me, I'm like, I couldn't stop seeing it everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, like it really is like. It's so wild to see.
It's an asterisk next to your name, and you're like, I don't want that.
It's a caveat. It's an asterisk. It's this implication of a gimmick, which is actually I had a DM conversation with Mrs. Smith a couple days ago about the concept of a gimmick. And it's just like this idea that people are subconsciously, might not even realize that they're doing, but they're subconsciously putting that asterisk next to your name and devaluing your work or implying that your art doesn't stand up for itself. Or that it's not even art itself, that it's just some sort of a ploy to play on capitalism to try and get more money and attention and followers. And when it's not that at all, that's just so implicitly
it's just such
infuriating.
It's so freaking annoying. It's just, and it ultimately like it can be anything from like a mild annoyance to, I mean, I know this hasn't happened to me personally, but I know more than one woman who's been dropped from a bill because we already had one woman on the bill of like a festival. Like not like
quota met.
What?
Quota met.
Quota, yeah, exactly.
We get a tax exemption now.
The token. That's like, you don't want to be the token black person in the film. You don't want to be the token woman on a bill. Like you don't want to be the token anything. You want to be there because
it's so kind of them to let a woman open up for the headliner.
Yeah. Oh man, they have one of the 4 bands on the bill has a woman in it. Quota met.
But like, it seems like it's like I could see where someone would be like, oh, well, it's just like a 1-word difference. And I think that's not being fair to how sinister small differences in our choices of words can be. Yeah. And and that's a statement I can say pretty confidently across several languages. But linguistics is so incredibly important in the way that it shapes culture. And that is something I will stand by. I think I've talked about this before, but like, I swear, like emojis have changed so much of the way that we think. Is at least this is my pet running theory. I haven't done like tons of research on it, but it's basically hieroglyphics. And so the way that changes our brains to look at things more visually and to speak in ways that like the English language can't, these little things go so far, so fast without us ever entirely realizing it. And so when we see something like this, that's calling it out, you've got to be willing to take a step back and say, okay, I haven't thought of it this way before, but I recognize that my brain's kind of just been normalizing this for so long that if I give it a chance to step back and reevaluate, then I might be able to learn something from this. And I might be really surprised by how drastically this changes my perspective on things, because all the things we just talked about before, you're putting an asterisk in front of someone's art, their talent, their reputation. And that's sinister. The word I'm giving it is sinister.
I don't think it comes from a good place necessarily.
I don't think people are necessarily being malicious.
No, but
sometimes they are, but not always.
Well, it's like, if you've ever said to anybody about anything good for a girl, that's really absolute trash. Like, it's just, are you good or are you not? Like, don't put a qualifier in it. But I think that one thing it takes for people to see how ridiculous it is to flip it.
Right.
Like, do the gender reverse exactly like this. Like, a male guitarist, a man would never wear a shirt that says male guitarist. Like, not seriously. And like, there are not male guitars and female guitars. There are just guitars. So there's not pedals for boys and pedals for girls. Like, I thought
about ordering the shirt just to like, feel like I'm being supportive and like kind of in on it. I can't. I really don't think I could bring myself to actually wear that, because that would just feel like, that would feel slightly demeaning to me, even though it's like a flip on the joke and it doesn't really apply to me. I started to order and I just like, I couldn't I knew I wouldn't be able to wear it. It just wouldn't sit right in the back of my head. And I think at that moment, I'm like, okay, this, like, I'm recognizing like in my head that this is like, makes sense and why they're flipping it and what's so wrong with it. But if I want to go the extra step of participating, and the fact that my brain's like, no, we don't like this. It took it to that extra visceral level of like, oh yeah, maybe this is a microcosm of what women feel when they've done a performance and someone says you're pretty good for a girl, or did your boyfriend teach you, like, what, you should smile more. Any of these things that just, I mean, that's just wild.
No, I've gotten this. I got this. I've gotten this in like most of the industries I've worked in. I remember once I was like copywriting for a whiskey tasting, and the client literally said, "Yeah, the copy's pretty good for a girl." Like, literally said it. And I was like, and I think that my face just stonied right up. I was like, and he's like, I was kidding. I was like, I don't think you were.
Was. Yeah.
I don't know. But that, I remember, like, that made me so mad. And I like, I know he was joking, but also like, that wasn't funny, man. I've been getting that my whole damn life. Like, it's never, like, I've been getting that since I was a kid. Since you do like throw like a girl or run like a girl. What was it, like Dove or somebody did like the Like a Girl campaign?
I don't remember. I remember the campaign. I don't remember what company it was. Tells you how successful the campaign was.
But like, it would ask like a young girl to like, show us running, show us throwing. And then they ask the girl, show us run like a girl, show us throw like a girl. Like, my own dad, who has, always been supportive. I just remember at one point he did say the words like that's throwing like a girl or something like that. Maybe it wasn't my dad. Maybe it was someone else on the team. I think it might've been one of our female coaches, now that I think about it. But like, the idea of just like, if it's not proper form, it's throwing like a girl.
Sure.
Maybe that's just weird. It's just a weird thing to say. Like, I don't know, man.
Sure. I mean, I think a learning, so there's a couple of things I think I can take away from in this. Well, for starters, just if anything that's gendered language, if you're attaching something negative to gendered language, think twice. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm also saying I can't think of a good example of that off the top of my head. And
I can't think of a good example of positive gendered language, to be honest. Like that, like unharmful, positive, like the warmth of a woman, like emotional warmth of a woman.
Sure.
Like you would think that'd be a positive thing. Like, I would think that would be a positive characteristic for anybody to have, but like warmth, emotional warmth. But then when you gender it like that, you're saying it's not normal for men to have emotional warmth. And I think that's upsetting.
Sure. I mean, I think there is a much deeper conversation to have, like even on the other end of this, but I think I'm to focus on specifically negative stuff. Like if it's
Yeah.
explicitly negative, I really want to caution against that and like take the second to think about it. The next thing that I've got on this is I understand that not everyone who's saying things like this, I really truly believe that not everyone's being intentionally malicious or demeaning, or they don't even realize what they're saying. It's so internalized.
Yeah.
And I
That's a
think
good word.
that's okay. I'm not saying that it's okay to stay that way, but I'm saying it's okay. And no one's going to say you are a bad person because of the way that the language that you of the way that you're using the English language or whatever
Right.
language you natively speak. I'm not willing to say, hey, that's bad. I'm not willing to like make that a personal thing. What I am willing to say is, hey, if someone calls us out to you though, don't say, oh, I didn't mean it that way. So I can keep doing it. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is take the opportunity to learn, take the opportunity to reflect, slice a humble pie. Don't take it personally. No one's saying it's personally about you. People are saying, hey, this is something that it's a recognition that we've all internalized this collectively as a culture. And it's time for us to start evaluating whether or not we're okay with that.
And if
So,
somebody is, and I will say, if somebody's taking the time, especially somebody that you know, if somebody's taking the time to say to you, like, hey, that's really not a cool thing to say, and here's why, it's an act of love because it means they think that you are capable of introspection and that you want to improve
empathy.
and that you want to, make people around you feel good and welcome. It's not a slight on your personality until you make it a slight on your personality by being rude about it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been joking, half seriously, half jokingly, since we started this podcast that I'm a quote unquote recovering conservative, and I think the heart of where I'm at with joking about that is more of like, just tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not so stuck on what the value sets that I was raised with that I'm not willing to reflect on them.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I still think I am more conservative than my liberal friends would like me to be. And I'm okay with that. I don't know, but it's about where your headspace is at. It's whether or not you're willing to entertain that you could be wrong and the humility that comes with it and be able to have these conversations, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that I'd like to take away is I'd like to read these comments out loud.
I really want to read some of these comments. Can I start? I have a favorite.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
My favorite is Corey Redford said, is playing guitar the only qualification for being a, quote, guitarist nowadays? Because there's a list of 20 things that I would ask this guy before I felt confident that he is what he says he is. Don't let male guitarists water down the definition of what it means to be a real guitarist. That's my favorite because I've heard this so much. I've been quizzed for everything that I like. You know how many men have introduced their replacements to me? Jesus. A lot.
Yep. I think I'm looking here. I really like this one is that there's a bit of it. This comes from Ann Kilgore Cooper. There's a bit of a difference between a musician and someone having a little hobby. I'm sure he enjoys it though. And it does mean he can play a few little tunes to his children.
Man, I've gotten this like not quite verbatim, but once someone did tell me like, oh, but your kids are going to grow up thinking mommy rocks. I'm like, what?
Right. And the other one that's in the comments, like towards the top of the list is from Gina K is, I think it's great. As a modern woman, I fully support men having hobbies.
Oh, and then to go off of that one, Angela Reed, I think it's cute when men have hobbies. His shirt should probably be tighter and show his arms. I'm an arm woman. Also, where is his smile? And maybe he could clean up his hair.
Yep.
Women aren't attracted to boys with straggly hair.
Yep.
That's so good.
Yeah. I laugh, but I also laugh like with a little bit of like, but if you flip the gender role here, it becomes so painful so fast.
Oh,
it's
right.
like,
You're like, this is
cringe,
ridiculous.
It's like as a cishet white guy, I'm like, you're making me look bad, man. Come on.
Yeah, right. Name an all-male rock band that actually rocks. It's just not something they're good at. He should smile. He should smile. Oh, so proud of these boys. They'll have a go at anything these days. Oh my God. Because like some of these like they show, because you get these as women like, you go girl kind of thing. And you're like, I know that you're like trying to be supportive. You really are, but you're just you're making it sound like it's different. Like,
right.
Like, would you say that to a dude? I mean, you would say that, I would say that to like any gendered child, like, oh, hell yeah, that kid kicks ass. Like amazing. Whoa.
Sure.
But so, like an adult, like, God, that's really, is the word patronizing? Because it feels like the word is patronizing.
It is. So, I mean, so the comments we've read so far kind of harken back to maybe a more archaic mindset. And so you might be listening to this going like, well, I wouldn't ever say that in reverse. But maybe if you're...
A lot of people do, though. A lot of people do, though.
Well, yeah, so a lot of people do, but it sounds really extreme. So maybe here's a couple of comments that I'm looking at that seem a little bit more subversive and not quite as like direct. But I see frequently and is really hard to see is so here's one from Amelie Abrami. I just butchered that name. I'm so sorry. People only listen to his mediocre guitar playing because he's a man. If he were a woman, he'd actually have to learn to play. Good for him. He's got looks, though. I'm sure his little guitar matches his pretty hair.
The problem is women actually do have to be like twice as good as men to get half the respect, but sure. Yeah.
Well, it's taking a dig at that trope of like, women who just post generic videos of them playing poorly get so much attention because they've got tits. I mean, that's the implication that I see so many people saying, oh, well, the only reason why you're liking this. And as if that's, the thing that kills me is that I think there's an element of truth to it, but the onus doesn't land on the woman in that. The onus lands on all the creepy old dudes. They're like, fast forward to 43 seconds in, you can see a jiggle. I'm like, what are you guys doing? That's not what the focus of this is. The problem is not the woman who's putting herself out there saying, hey, I can play guitar. The problem is the guys that are getting all creepy and like, let me grab the lotion and maybe and at the end of this video, I'll switch over to Pornhub. Like, it's so uncool. But people actually say this sort of thing, and it's not quite as direct.
They don't see it. A lot of them think it. A lot of them think things like this one by Kirsten Fletcher. Wait till he has a baby. He won't want this rock life anymore once his father instincts kick in. It's really just a phase. There's another one, Alexandra Shostak. He just learned guitar so he could be, quote, one of the girls and meet his future wife that way, right? He probably can't actually play. I mean, you like, there are people who think these things like, oh, she just wants to be one of the guys. Oh, once she's a mom, she won't want to do this anymore. Should not encourage this hobby in men. I don't even see gender. It's only an issue when males make it an issue, which they do all the time.
I like this comment.
Name it, record.
I like this comment, which is where do they put their wieners when they play guitar? I'm like, well, the problem with that is because guys have been designing guitars. That's why it fits their bodies. That's true. Look at guitars that are designed by women or for women. They're very different for a reason. So
well, sometimes they're different. Sometimes they're not. I mean, sure. I only know of a male bassist. I don't know of any men who want to aspire to be a male guitarist. Good for Andy for wanting to aim that high, though, by Nat Davies. Good for you. Good for you for wanting to try. Oh, my God. I'm not sexist. I just think that boy bands aren't as good as real bands. That's why they don't get as many festival gigs. There's no need to turn it into my identity politics like all these boys need to do.
Sure. And so as the comments start digging deep, I think the comments that got the most likes are the ones that were so blatantly like, yes, like these are things we hear and we can all agree that those are bad, but it's the ones you start scrolling down, you start looking at the more sinister. The more not quite as direct, the less
he
obvious.
He probably had a lot of musical women in his family. That's another one. It's like the same, and I think that especially women who are into cars are probably going to hear something like that a lot.
Sure.
Like, oh, did you just really hang out with your dad a lot? I'm like, well, maybe their mom did that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, my mom's the reason I play guitar.
And it's just. And the word I keep coming back to is this, the conversation I had with Mrs. Smith earlier this week is like, it's putting an asterisk. It's implying that there's a gimmick that's just so
Yeah.
ruinous and angering. So anyways, that's all I've got before my blood pressure starts getting out of hand. This is me getting upset. I know.
Gosh, it's like you getting feisty. Like you listen back to it later, and you have to be like, no, that wasn't so feisty.
I feel like every time I get feisty, like you start pushing back. I'm like, and I go listen back. I'm like, little punk, you barely even like spoke up.
So. No. Meanwhile, I got a weird email this week and was like, the more I read it, like the first time I read, I'm like, whatever. And then I read it again. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like everything in this is stupid. Like, what the hell? And like I said to a friend, I'm like, is this ridiculous? And she's like, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So final call out before, because I know you got things to do, places to be, and
I have to. Well, if I don't finish filming these Pod Go demos, you're never going to get it. So.
So I'm gonna send you that direction, but first I'm gonna point out that I wore the shirt because I wanted to show off my love for In and Out. But then like the microphone placement's been covering up my shirt for most of the episode. That's really bothering me. So here's my In and Out shirt, and there's the whole back.
If you're watching the podcast, that made more sense. I'm wearing an Old Blood Noise Endeavors shirt.
And yeah, that's yet another call out. If you're not watching the podcast on YouTube and you have the opportunity to, do whatever works best for you, but just know that it's an option, know that it's there, and know that I swear that my face, you stare at my face, like it's hard to look at first, but give it 20 minutes. You'll settle in. It'll start to look normal, maybe familiar even. I don't know.
Maybe. Let's see. I want to take a look to see what other demos I even want to do with this Pod Go. And I want to run it by you. Do you think it'd be worth it to just go through some of the sound settings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably what I'm going to do. So yeah, I'm going to go through, do additional videos with the different amps and probably the cabinets as much as I can with it being like reasonable, because there's so much in this pedal.
Yeah, no, there's a ton.
Distortion, modulation, delays, reverbs. There's a lot of things.
There's a ton in there. I think the huge value out of a video like that, because it's a pedal unit that's geared for beginners, meant to be something like kind of more palatable. I think if you can show truly how user friendly it is, minus software bugs, but factory reset, obviously. Fix that.
It was such an easy fix.
Right. So being able to show that and just kind of make it a little less intimidating, because like even for me, like I've been playing guitar and playing around with effects and whatnot for long enough. Like I still don't like the idea of like LCD screens and like getting into menu diving. That always kind of wigs me out. Yeah. And so I think I can't be alone in that. And I think I've been told over and over again that this product really is user friendly, really is beginner friendly, and really is meant to help you get into the music and start playing. And I think that honestly, to be able to show that would be huge.
Very, very easy once you kind of figure out which buttons to push at which times. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really easy. Like you can hear the different sounds as you scroll down them if you're building it on the board. If you're using the app, the software that you download, I didn't try the whole like playing along like while I had that open, but it does show you like visually what those effects look like. Uh-huh. So like if it has a name and you're like, I don't really know what that name means, like Minotaur, you look and it looks like a clon, and then you're like, okay, that's what that is. Or like you look at it like, oh, that's a DS1, that's a DS2, mm-hmm. That's a Tube Screamer. Yeah. Like, so if you know what the things are, it starts to make more sense. But like building them on the little device, since it's not like, for me, it's like, it would be harder if it were a touch screen. So that's not a touch screen. It saves a lot of, I think, the pain in the ass stuff that you often have with screens. But cool. Well, for everyone out there watching, please check us out on patreon.com/getoffset. Check out getoffsetpodcast.com for merch and more. Please rate, review on iTunes, subscribe on the YouTubes. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily.
And my name is Andrew.
Goodbye.